be going over navigating Salesforce. And the objective of the call is for you to be able to comfortably navigate our Salesforce instance. And what a Salesforce instance is our own unique setup in Salesforce. There's thousands upon thousands of different Salesforces out there. Ours is set up custom to fit our business processes and needs and what we do as an organization. So we'll be going over how to log in and navigate Salesforce, introduction to the different terminology to be able to navigate and understand what things are within Salesforce. We'll also go over the basic level of creating and editing different records, and we'll have a little bit of a homework assignment for you there. And we'll also review some dashboards that we are currently using, some sample dashboards, so you know what dashboards look like and how they kind of operate. So we'll go ahead and jump right in. So before we get started, does anyone have any questions? Maybe there's something certain that's on your mind, something that you may want to have covered. Go ahead and just speak up. If not, you can always send a chat in too, and we can cover that later. But I'll just pause for a second if anyone has any. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm showing you from Tom's perspective in Salesforce. I don't want to show you a view of what my admin view looks like, because that will be completely different. All of you have the same setup as what Tom has in Salesforce. So I'm going to go through as if I'm Tom Silverman, what he would be doing in Salesforce and what he would see. And all of you, like I said, will see the exact same things when you log into Salesforce. So starting out, the main thing that you're going to have to do is first log into Salesforce. And the address that you're going to go to, you can get there from several different avenues, several different methods. But the quickest way is just to go to login.salesforce.com. And I know not everyone on the development team has their own individual unique login. We will at some point be able to have everyone log in with their own information. But for those of you that are sharing, if you don't know who you're sharing with yet, just shoot me an email after this session, and we'll make sure that you have Salesforce access. For everyone else, your login is just going to be your build-on email address and whatever password you have set up. And if you don't remember that password or you need it reset, just let me know, and we'll get that reset for you and set up. So like I said, there's different avenues in getting into Salesforce. First of all, you can log in at login.salesforce.com. It may be worthwhile just to bookmark that, to come here to have that be your quick login access point. You can also just go to salesforce.com and click login there. So there's a couple different ways, whatever one's easiest to you, but maybe just bookmark that page and make it easy access. And once you do log in, you put in your username and password. There's going to be a box you can check so that it remembers you. So every time that when you come to login.salesforce.com, you're not going to have to type in your password every time. You'll just be able to click on your name and take you to Salesforce and log in on your behalf. So are there any questions about logging in, any issues that you've been having, or any questions at all? Okay, great. So what we're going to be going through is just navigating Salesforce, and everything that you see here on the page right now, we're going to be going through and how to navigate it, how to click on different things, what your different options are, and what you can do with each of these different things. So starting out, the home page is what you're going to see when you log in. Unless you logged in earlier that day, it's going to take you right to this home page. If you logged in earlier that day and you maybe just clicked out of your Salesforce window, it's going to take you to that previous page that you were on. But if you're logging in for the first time that day, it's going to take you to the home page. And some things to notice on the home page is all of this is completely customizable, and we'll be going through how to customize it. But the first thing that's going to pop up is your dashboard. And a dashboard may be specifically unique to you. It may be something that is your specific metrics, something that you're working on. And here Tom's is his chapter dashboard. He's looking at overall chapter revenue this year, out of his staff, who has raised what money and where they're at in the fourth quarter. But like I said, you can switch these out. You can change them depending on what's going on. It might be something that's specific to you. Maybe you want to know your own specific revenue. Maybe you're looking at regional revenue that week, or maybe you're working on a big event like the gala or some other specific events that's going on. You have the ability to switch out which dashboards on your homepage based upon what's important to you that week and what you're doing that week. Scrolling down is, and this typically your dashboard isn't going to be this long. There's a lot of different chapters, and so that's why this dashboard's a little big. But you'll notice here below your dashboard are tasks and calendars. And we'll get into setting up different tasks and calendar events. But any task that's been created or attributed to you in Salesforce, it will be sorted down here. It'll be listed. So if you want to know tasks that are due to you that day, or tasks that are due to you maybe tomorrow or the next 7 days or this month, you can look at them via here. And they'll be sorted based upon whatever that is that you choose. Going back to the top, one thing also you'll notice is we have what is here called a feed. And this is a feature of chatter in Salesforce. And this is just another good way to communicate with each other internally. We might not be rolling it out in all the different ways that chatter is used for, but initially what you can use it for is if maybe you're working with someone and you just want to let them know something that's happened in Salesforce or something's going on, and it's not something official, but maybe it's just like a thank you. So maybe Tom sees that Aaron and Jen are doing really great this month with fundraising for the fourth quarter. Like he's seen on his dashboard, oh, you guys have raised this much money. He can tag them and say, great job in the fourth quarter. And so what that'll do is it'll show up in Aaron and Jen's chatter feed to say, oh, well, Tom sent me a message saying good job. And with chatter, you're able to attach files and link different links or URLs. Maybe you're working with an organization and you want to link something. That's just a quick way to communicate with each other. And it's not on an official platform. You don't need to send an email. It's just a message. And maybe it's just to congratulate or to celebrate different successes. But you can always hide that feed. You don't need to use it. It's really just there as another communication tool that you can jump into. And
hey, Eric, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Is that something that we would use to communicate on the status of open task requests that we send to you, or is that going to happen somewhere else?
No, that is a good way that you can do that too. Using the @ symbol, you can type in my name and just say, I submitted a task and whatever, and that'll automatically come to me via email and it'll show up on my chatter feed. So that's a good point. That is a good use case. Right now, they don't have the ability in chatter to say tag a certain request. So I can't type in like a development request or something like that and show up. But what you could do is if you were able to find that task or that record that you're working on, and we'll jump into different records and whatnot, you can actually take the URL from that record and say, oh, hey, Eric, type that in, and then link the record that you're working on and say, do you have an update on this pledge or donation? Whatever that status is, you can just link that record URL and tag it to me and share. And that is another good way to communicate. So that is a good use case. Thanks for pointing that out. Does anyone else have any potential use cases, maybe different ways that you see we could use chatter rather than other than just celebrations or maybe quick messages, maybe
Uh,
there's another way you could implement it in your job.
Eric, can you chatter with people on Salesforce and other organizations, or is it a totally closed system?
That's a good question. If we had a link with their organization, to like say Build On and that organization were connected, you would be able to do that. But the way it's set up right now, we don't have any of those sort of partner organizations. So no, you couldn't do that. It's just within our own organization.
Okay.
Good question though.
And hey, I also wanted to point out that I always look at my dashboard page. I never look at this home page.
Yep.
But I could just drag my dashboards over to my home page.
Yeah. So what this is on your homepage is just a snapshot. And when I show you the dashboard page in just a minute, you'll see that the dashboard's completely different. What this is this is taking the top row of whatever dashboard you want to have viewed, and it's showing it just as a snapshot or a quick view. So of course you can always go to the dashboard page to cycle through different dashboards and see them more developed out. But if there are like three quick metrics that are important to you that you just want to see pop up on your homepage and be right in your face and be important to you that week, that's what shows up here. So you can always switch that out and choose which dashboard. And you can do that by just hitting
Thanks,
customize
Eric.
page here. And you can say, oh, well, this week, maybe I don't want my own personal dashboard. Maybe I want to see what's going on with the gala. So now on your homepage is the top line of what's going on with the gala. So you can switch that out depending on what's going on that week. And again, it's just going to be that top row of that dashboard. And for those of you that don't know what's going on, we'll make a little bit more sense of this in just a second. Good question, Tom. One more feature of your homepage to note out before we jump into the different objects is on the side here, you can choose to minimize this, but this is going to be unique to you here again. So this is going to show you different things that you've clicked on recently. Recent items, maybe it's a campaign, maybe it's an account or a donation record. Whatever you clicked on recently is going to show up here. And you have quick access here to be able to click on a different item that you maybe want to create. Maybe you want to create a task or an account or something different. You can click on that. It doesn't have a whole lot of huge value. It's good to, if you're working on a lot of different things that you're jumping back and forth on, the recent items, but you can always just minimize this if you don't need it for that day. So the first thing I'm going to show you is, you might see here on Tom's account, he has his picture and some other different features that are unique to him. The way that you're going to be able to go in and set that up for yourself is you're going to click on your name here in the top, and you're going to click on My Profile. And in this profile, what's going to show up is just like that homepage, things that Tom has posted in Chatter recently or things that he's been tagged in or that have been associated with him are going to show up here. An overview of about who he is. He doesn't have to fill that in. You can put in information. We're a small organization. I think people know each other. This is more important for larger organizations. But what you can do is actually change your profile picture. When you log in, it's just going to be a blank image, but you can actually choose to update and upload an image there. So when you have ownership over records or you're looking at different dashboards and we want to know who's doing what, we get reminded about who you are by your image and just not your name. So you can always drop in an image there if you want that feature in your Salesforce. And for those of you that are sharing an account, you can just keep it just standard for now. And once we get individual usernames for you, we can set that up for you as well. Any questions about your own specific user profile or putting in an image or anything like that about being unique to you? Okay. So what we're going to go through next is you'll see here on the top of your page, all the different names that are up here: accounts, households, contacts, campaigns. They all mean something. They all have a different value. They all do something differently in Salesforce.
They're all on your cord.
And what you'll notice is they are all called objects in Salesforce. And there are several different types of objects. There are native objects and there are custom objects. And native objects are objects that are in Salesforce no matter what organization you're in, no matter who you log in with. If you were to log in into a current organization Salesforce, those objects would be there. A custom object is something that's been set up specifically to map the business processes of that organization. So you'll see here on the left, accounts, households, contacts, campaigns. Those are all native objects to Salesforce. Those aren't set up to map specific business practices for Build On. They're standard things, standard functionality in Salesforce. Over here on the right, you see expenses, communities, Trek applications, an operations manual. Those are all custom objects. Those are things that have been set up to map our own unique business processes. And if you logged into another organization, those would not be there. Those are specific to us and what we do. So I'm just going to start by walking you through all these different objects to get you comfortable with terminology and what each of these objects can do. So before we get started, does anyone have any questions about objects, native objects versus custom objects, or maybe how you move these different things around, or what you would want to show up specifically on your page? Okay, great. We'll go ahead and move through them then. The first object we're going to go through is accounts. And accounts are an organization. They're an entity. They're not an individual. They could be another nonprofit. They could be a school. They could be a Build On chapter. Really an entity that people are associated with. If you look here and click on New, you're going to see all the different record types, all the different types of organizations that we work with. You'll see chapter, default. That's just a standard organization. That could be a corporation, a nonprofit, an entity that isn't one of these other three. The other three are a chapter member organization, a USP school, or a USP service partner organization. If it doesn't fall into one of those three unique categories, that means it's just going to be default. It's going to be an organization that maybe has employees, maybe has different relationships with different members that belong to that organization, but is not one of these three major groups.
Could it be an individual?
No, it could not. It's just an organization. An individual would be listed as a contact, and we'll get into that in just a second.
Can you tell me when the water's pouring?
So one more thing you'll notice here before we jump into an account is the way that this page is set up when you click on account. What you'll see here next to view is what's called a related list. And so this will show, be able to show accounts based off of these different categories. And what's in here now are just some basic ones. Maybe you want to see a list of all organizations or organizations or accounts that have been created in the last week or maybe new this week, or ones that I have recently clicked on or viewed. But if you wanted to set up a list here that said maybe Tom's organizations or West Coast corporations or Chicago corporations or Chicago profits, we would be able to set up a list here that when you go in and click from the menu, the organizations that show up would just be the ones that fit that list. So what this is called is just a related list. When you go in and select that menu item, that's going to display all your different organizations there.
Hey, Eric, can we just take a second? I think someone's not on mute, and we can hear you.
Sounds like they went silent, but again, if you're making background noise, you can always just mute yourself. On the bar in your meeting, you're able to just click on mute in the toolbar. So if you have people in the background, just mute yourself unless you're going to talk. Thanks, Tom. So again, like I said, an organization is set up differently depending on what their relationship is with Build On. So I'm going to go ahead here and click on a chapter organization, Alameda High School. And what you'll see is a different setup based upon what organization you're clicking on. So a chapter is going to have fields that are unique to chapters. The setup is going to be unique to what chapters are doing. It's going to have different fields and different questions and different related lists here at the bottom, depending on what that chapter is doing or what that organization is doing. So if you were to go back and click on, say, a different organization, not a chapter, maybe we want to look at the 15 Foundation. Sorry for the slow internet. You'll see here right off the bat, it's a completely different setup than what we're doing with chapters. But let me go back to the chapter one. So with Alameda High School, what we have here right at the top, and this is going to be the same throughout every different account, is first is going to be the account name. And right below it is going to be the owner of that account. This is a chapter that Erin works with, so she's the account owner. And you can see here, if you want to know what the record type is, and maybe you don't see that when you're typing in the account or clicking on an account, the record type is going to be here in the top right-hand corner. And then details that are specific to the chapter. So this chapter type field isn't going to be on another organization record if they aren't a chapter. If it's a USP school or it's an organization or corporation, they're not going to be having a chapter type listed. The region for the chapter, billing information, and then all the other different related objects. And when I say a related object, that is all the different lists that are listed below that record. So for a chapter, they're going to have listed all the different students that are associated with that chapter. And the way these students get into the chapter is they're filling out an online form when they complete their fundraising pages through Stay Classy, and they associate themselves with a chapter. So this school only has had one person fill out the member form, but that's how the students get here. And those sort of workflows and way these different lists get populated, these different related objects get filled out, they happen typically automatically. And this isn't something you're gonna have to go and update or change. But what you'll notice though is with Alameda High School, you can see all their different fundraising campaigns, because that's what is important to chapters, are the different fundraising campaigns. So these campaigns are linked to the chapter. You can go and click on the list to see the further list, to see all the different fundraising campaigns that are associated with that chapter, how many donations they've made, the total value of their donations, and for the pages they have set up, who is that student or who's that member that's associated with that page. And again, the Trek year for when they're going on Trek for that fundraising page. And again, this is all completely customizable based off of what the organization type is, what the record type is, what that relationship is. This shows these sort of details because that's what is important to chapters. They need to know the numbers for Treks and what the different details are. Going further down, contacts. These are individuals that are associated with the chapter. And these might be staff at the school. It might be a key contact. It might be teachers. It might be administrators at the school. They're going to be listed there. Further affiliated contacts, maybe volunteers, key donors, people that are affiliated with the school that aren't staff and aren't members of the chapter. And then going down, on every single object, you're going to be able to attach different records. A lot of times when people fill out applications or submit things, these records are going to come here automatically and you're not going to need to add them. And further trainings, we'll have more details on how all this works. But just know that in this section, attachments that come in maybe via applications, or maybe it's a contract or something specific that's tied to that organization, they'll be listed in the attachments. And then what we have at the bottom, and again, this is unique to chapters or organizations that have people going on Trek. Anyone that fills out a Trek application from that organization, they'll show up here. So you'll be able to manage all the different Trek applications for that organization, that entity that's affiliated with the people that are filling out those applications. And then further, another related object is communities. These are all the different communities that have been affiliated with that organization, that chapter, that group. Maybe they went on Trek to that community. Maybe they went and built a school in that community. So they'll have a relationship with that community. Alameda High School hasn't done that yet in this new model. If they go on Trek, their Trek community will show up here, and they'll be able to interact from that angle.
Hey, Eric, it's Erin. Quick question for you.
Yep.
Since you're using our data, and I'm looking at it right now, and maybe some of the ambassador treks would be similar to this.
Mm-hmm.
When people create campaigns, do they not go into their campaign detail until they start raising money? So like, for instance, Alameda High School has a team page and 5 people that have set up campaigns for the 2015 Trek year, but they haven't raised any money yet. But they're not on here. But it's odd because Emily is the 2015 Trek year, but she hasn't started raising money, but she's on here. So I was just wondering kind of how that process works. Oh, there are more.
Yeah, you just have to expand the list. So
Okay.
It's just going to show you, it looks like 5 different records, and you can sort them and choose which ones you want to show up first. But you just click on this list here, and you can either say show 5 more, and it won't open up another window, and that'll just expand it out, and you can see quickly, like here's the 0 ones. You can see those, or you can go to a complete unique page and see further in detail. But no, that's a good question. But when you go to the further page, if they do have a lot of campaigns and you want to be able to sort the different details, you can, just like an Excel document, you can just click on those headers and sort. So you can see which ones have raised 0. So there's the 5 that have 0.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Good question now. So I won't run through the same sort of details on another organization. I'll just show you quickly differently what a different organization might look like. Or we'll look at a corporation.
Eric, can we look at yeah, thank you.
Oops. Maybe do you have a key contact or a key organization in mind? Maybe Moss Adams is a good one. You can look at Moss Adams. Oops, sorry about that. So this is an example of a corporation, and you see it's not a chapter, it's not a USP school, it's not a USP service partner, so it's automatically going to have the record type of default. And that allows us to collect all the different information on that organization that we need to, and it's specifically set up. So you notice on chapters, they don't have all these different fields and sections. What's different is unique to that organization. So maybe there's a specific solicitor for that organization. Maybe there is a mailing code that they belong to, a region. Those are the high level details. Those are right at the top. But moving on, billing and shipping addresses, those may be different for the organization. But then it gets into the summary, and this data isn't correct because we have a couple different Moss Adams accounts that we need to merge together. But what this will do is this will summarize all of their giving history. So you'll be able to see in this first one is their donation information, their first gift date, last gift date, average gift, last gift amount, all those different details specific to their giving. And this one is an overall summary. So you'd be able to see their total lifetime gifts as an organization. And what this field is total gifts last N days. And that N is a variable. So if you needed to run a certain report and you wanted to look at a giving history for a certain time period, you could just let me know and I could set that N value for an organization and give you that total. So that could be like 100 days, 300 days, 700 days, whatever that is, that value changes. But when it changes, it updates that field for every single organization. So this one is a unique field, and it can be swapped out and changed depending on what your need is. But just know that it changes every record when you do that. But then it gets into further summaries, gifts this year, gifts this last year, 2 years ago, their total number of gifts, all those sort of details. And we do have further information with grants. Maybe if it's a foundation or a corporation that provides grants, we do have a grant process set up that will be unrolling here once Jessie gets back from her break. But any sort of grant details would be rolling up here as well. So what you have on a page is either really specific information that you want to track from an organization. Maybe it's address or contact information or details that you want to track for that relationship that are going to be constant. They're not going to be constantly changing. It's something that you want to tap into and see, and then you're not going to be changing on a regular basis. That's what's going to go onto the account record or any sort of record. The other side of that is summaries. These are numbers that you're not going to have to be coming in and updating. You'll see that there's a lock on them. These are things that just roll up automatically and give you a summary for that organization. If there aren't things that you're going to need to change, these are the things that are just showing what their relationship with you is and what those details are. So one thing important to notice is that's what's being shown here on a record. Either things that are going to be staying the same throughout the relationship with them or roll-up summaries. All those different variables and things that change, those are tracked in different ways. Those are tracked into different related objects, the different contacts that are associated with that organization, the different types of relationships that are set up via these different objects that we have set up. So just note that what that difference is between the different data that you see on different records. And just like the chapter, here is all the staff members, all the contacts that are associated with that organization, whether it's a corporation or a nonprofit. And again, we need to merge these different accounts together to get all that data in there. Other affiliated contacts, maybe they're not staff, maybe they're associated in some other way. They might be a board member, they might be a key volunteer with that organization, some other relationship that isn't a staff member. Then it will list their donations. All of their giving history will be listed here. Any of those gifts that are recurring donations will be listed here. Going through attachments. And these are other related objects. If it's a high school, the students, university, their students, volunteer shifts. And what's important, again, at the bottom here is the Trek applications. So if they are a Trek group and they're not a chapter, maybe it's an ambassador Trek, all the different applications for that group that once we go to the online application setup, they will come to this page. It will come to their account page, and you'll be able to see all their different applicants for Trek. And for all the different Treks that they actually go on, again, all the different communities that they've worked with and got on Trek for.
And Eric, when you say Trek application, I think just for clarity, it's like the information form where we collect all your contact information, right? And like medical
Correct.
Paperwork and yeah.
Yep. And most of that will be used for the Trek team, but it's important for you too. There'll be certain sections on there that are important to you for managing your teams that are going on Trek. And I'll be able to walk you through that as well. So going into the next object, households, and we won't go into the same sort of detail. A household is taking anyone that has the same address, they get grouped into a household. So if they're an individual and maybe it's a husband and wife, or maybe it's a family with children, and maybe children are chapter members and they're fundraising too, and they share the same address, they get grouped into a household together. And that's important for fundraising purposes because you want to be able to see the gifts made from that household. And so I'll quickly just run you through a household record. We have a lot of unknowns. So here's just a quick example. Who the household is, their last name. And again, this training is not to get you to be completely comfortable in managing all these things. This is just to get you comfortable with the terminology and what these different objects mean and what they can do, but not necessarily come in and be masters of all this. So if I'm going a little fast, just know that we're just going over terminology today. But you'll be able to see what the formal greeting is for that household, who the household kind of owner is, the head of the household, their contact information, and then again their giving history. So it's really basic information, really just for mailing purposes. If you need to solicit a household, maybe send out a letter or an email, you know what that correct formal greeting is, and what their giving history is, and all their different addresses for that household. And scrolling down, their household members, all the different members of the household. Again, it tells who they are and what they're doing with that household, whether they're the head of the household, maybe they're a husband or a wife. You'll be able to see that as well. And then again, just like all the different other objects with the counts that I showed you, all the different related objects to that household. So all their different donation records, their recurring donations, any attachments associated with that household, they'll be listed there. So moving along to contacts, just like accounts, there's different types of contacts that are set up. And there's a few more in the contact level than there are for accounts, because there's a lot of different ways that people are affiliated with Build On. We have chapter members. We have default, and this is the default setup for anyone that is fundraising for Build On. Maybe it's just a donor. Maybe it's someone that has created a Stay Classy page. Their main relationship with us is that they're a donor. Maybe that they're associated with an ambassador group or a chapter group, but they're not a chapter member, but they're just a donor on behalf of that chapter. Really just a standard donor for Build On. That's the default contact. That's different from an organization contact. What I showed you before with an organization, the different contacts listed for that organization, those are staff members. So maybe they're not making donations on behalf of the organization, but any sort of interaction you have with them is through the organization that you're working with through Build On. Donations that get made come from that organization and are attributed to that organization. So those are people that are typically staff members or key contacts at a corporation or organization. Programs, these are USP students, staff. These are Build On staff members. Every single one of you has a Build On staff member page that you can get your own unique details through. And then contacts that are created automatically and updated through Stay Classy. So you won't necessarily ever really have to go in and create a Stay Classy contact, or really many of these different contacts. These are all coming in when they give to Build On. They have a relationship through us, through an organization. We do have a lot of organizational contacts already listed, but most of these get populated and filled out when they fill out different forms or become a donor through Build On. They get dropped into the correct category here. But just know when you're navigating contact records that all those different record types exist. So if we look at, again, here at the top is a related list. These are different ways that you can look at people, at individuals. And so we'll look at ones that are new this week. we'll look at Aaron Paul. So we'll see right at the top again the record type. So that shows us right away that they're just a donor for Build On. That's their relationship with us. It says what their household is and all the other different contact detail that we're tracking that may be important to us. Their phone and email, employment information, who their employer is, what their title is, department, if we have that information. More personal information. And again, a lot of this gets filled out on different applications and forms that they fill out through Build On. You're not going to be responsible for updating all this information. This is more just a reference point for you. Trek details, if they've gone on Trek, giving history, and just like accounts, these are summaries. This is lifetime giving history. These different fields show their total gifts, their best gift year, total gifts this year, last year, 2 years ago, all those sort of details. Volunteer information, if they've volunteered through Build On. Their Stay Classy information, if they've given online through Build On. All their online giving history will be summarized here. And then if they're associated with the gala, what that association is, who that co-chair is they're working with, other contact details for the gala. And then if they're associated with our MailChimp, if they're in different email campaigns, those are going to be listed there as well. And then going through all those different related objects again, just like all the other different contacts and accounts, all those different relationships that they have, their donation records, it'll show each individual donation, campaigns that they've been a part of. And then again, going to the bottom, their Trek applications. So if they're going on Trek, you'll be able to go and see their Trek application. And again, if they're associated with an organization, you'll be able to view their Trek application from that organization as well. So before we jump into the next object and keep moving on, does anyone have any questions about contacts? Anything specific that you might want to see, or maybe anything that's confusing about what I've showed you so far?
Hey, Eric, can you talk about just quickly the process as people are going through these these objects, and if we want to add something, if we want to add a field or a custom object or a workflow, what's the process to get that view or have that discussion?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that kind of hints into our homework discussion for this week. I would like for you all to be able to pick out maybe some of your key organizations or key contacts, just 5 of them, and update them. And how you'll be able to do that on any of these objects, when you go into a record, you can easily just edit them by clicking edit. And when you edit something, you have the ability to just go in and change that field. Maybe you need to update their address. You can type in an address there and update it. And you can go up to the top, sorry about that, and hit save. So once you've hit edit and hit save, that'll save. So you can do that if you're going to be making wholesale changes, like to a lot of different things. You can go through and make changes like that. Another way that you can edit a record is just by double clicking on a field. So maybe you need to add another email address in for them. You can double click on the field to add that email address or a phone. That's a quicker way to edit records. Maybe you don't need to go in and make a bunch of wholesale changes to the record. Just do something quickly, double click on it to be able to update. To be able to make, say, a workflow rule, and again, we'll be getting into what those different definitions are and what they can do in later trainings. But anything outside of just editing a record, to be able to go in and make a change, you'll be able to do that via the request form. So if you notice that there's something big that isn't just a simple edit that you can go and make on your own, just request it via the Salesforce request form. And again, the Salesforce request form is here, buildon.org. and then Salesforce requests. And in our follow-up, I'll send you the link to the Salesforce request form. So anything that isn't at this point in time, until we get you fully trained on really how to do things like that in Salesforce, if it isn't just a basic edit to a record, changing someone's address, changing someone's contact details, editing something like that, just continue to make that update, make that request via the Salesforce request form. Good question, Jay. So we have about 10 minutes, and I'm just going to quickly, we won't get into all the different custom objects. We'll go right into campaigns and reports and what they mean, or campaigns and dashboards, and then we'll sign off from there. So campaigns, just like accounts and households and contacts, are going to have all the different record types that you'll be able to set up. We're not, as development, we're not creating volunteer jobs and things like that. So I actually don't have those available for you to create. So if you need to create a campaign, you can go ahead and just create a new one, but it's just going to be a default a fundraising campaign. And if a campaign, just like the different objects, they're set up in the same sort of fashion. If it's a fundraising campaign, all these different fields are set up to be unique to fundraising campaigns and track the details that you need for a fundraising campaign. So the planning, the budgeted costs, the start and end date, we'll be able to set those all up, and those will help manage a campaign. The expected revenue, how much has come in terms of donations and revenue up to this point, the number, and again, these are summaries. These are taking the different donations that are affiliated with that campaign and rolling them up here in summaries. So scrolling down, all the donations that are affiliated with that campaign, if individuals are associated with that campaign but they're not donors, maybe they're event attendees, other people that are non-donors, they would be listed as campaign members and not in the donations section. And all the other different related objects to that campaign. And just in time, I know we wanted to get to dashboards, so I'm actually just going to jump right into dashboards now and just walk you through what a dashboard looks like and relate it back to what I showed you on that homepage. So again, a dashboard is a key metric. It is a key grouping of data that you want to look at that has an importance to you. So you can have your own unique dashboard, and what you're seeing here is Tom's dashboard. And on Tom's dashboard, he has all the different chapter revenue for this year grouped by every single different chapter that he's working with. And so this is just a quick view for him to be able to come in and see, okay, I want to know where a certain chapter is at and how much they've raised up to this point. But then he has different metrics in here. He has his team in here for how much money they've raised for this year total. He has it set up regionally to say, okay, this is how much money's come in for each region. We have set up for how they're doing on the fourth quarter, revenue for this month, revenue for this week, revenue today, and leaderboards for all the different chapters that are setting up fundraising pages. He can be able to track and see, what chapter has set up the most fundraising pages. This chapter has set up 34 fundraising pages for the 2015 track, and be able to see, for the staff member that's associated with that chapter, how many pages their chapters have created. So again, that's just a snapshot of numbers and metrics that are important to Tom. And from what I showed you on the homepage, the dashboards that are in the top row here, and you can put as many dashboards as you need. You're not limited. We could put 30 on here if that's important to Tom. But the ones that are here in the top row, they're going to be showing up on your homepage. That's what's going to be listed here. So if you're swapping out a dashboard, when you go to customize page and maybe you want to look at a different metric on your homepage, that's what's showing up, is that top row. But there are other different types of dashboards. They're ones that can be unique to you. Maybe you're looking at the ambassador checks. you want to know all the different ambassador treks that are out there for the 2014 trek cycle or the 2015. Again, all those are listed with all their different metrics for how much money they've raised and where they're at, and that's linked directly to their Stay Classy pages. But what's here at the top is those campaign owners. So if you're working with that Trek group, you're listed as the owner, and all the different totals that are here. So the Bay Area group might be associated with Jay. That's rolling up into his total here. And the same on 2015. If that campaign is tagged to you as an owner, it's gonna be rolling up here in your summary at the top.
And that includes travel costs, those numbers, right?
That's correct. Until we get more details into how we're going to wrap our head around Trek travel revenue, these numbers, when you see the totals, that's their overall fundraising total for Trek. That's not broken out into school or Trek travel or flights. That's a total for how much they've raised for that Trek. And again, just like the other dashboard, if there's a certain metric that's important to you, it can be displayed here on the dashboard. So we're looking at revenue for the ambassador treks for the fourth quarter, or revenue for this month for ambassador treks this week, and even today. We can look at it from all those levels. And we can see, just like on the chapter one, how many pages each of these groups have created, both for 2014 and 2015. So those are our high-level summaries of certain initiatives that are going on, Trek and chapter treks. But again, there's going to be dashboards that are set up for other things that are going on at Build On, like the gala. This is just an example of what we're doing with the gala for this year, the gala in Stanford. We're tracking the overall revenue for the gala. We're putting in a goal here. The overall revenue goal is $3 million. And we can compare that to where we're at. And the important thing to remember about dashboards, these live update, this is pulling in data from all over Salesforce to populate these dashboards and to show these numbers. But you'll see here at the top, it's only going to refresh based off of this number. So you can see this was last refreshed at 9:41. So that's not going to be the most up-to-date dashboard. And I have them all set to refresh every morning automatically. But if you want to see those up-to-date numbers later on in the day, it's important to click refresh dashboard, and that'll update those numbers. But again, this is just another example. We're able to put in goals for what we want to do with the gala, both in terms of overall revenue and the corporate challenge. We're able to track seats sold, the overall revenue summary for what those different pools are for it coming in, whether they're buying tables, whether they're a corporate group, an individual, or it's a matching gift. And then for people that are soliciting those funds, those co-chairs, every gift is associated with the co-chair for who brought in those funds. So we're able to set up a dashboard to create kind of a leaderboard to see, okay, out of the over $1 million raised so far, who has been attributed to each of those funds. So this is just something to think about in your future events and future things that you're doing with Build On. We have the ability to set up these different types of dashboards to track your metrics, whereas it might be important to you to look at overall revenue and your different revenue streams for the year or the quarter. You can pull up dashboards for different events and different things that you're working on. And I will show you one more example. Oops. We'll do a Jay's test. And this one's called a test just because we don't have our data fully dropped into all these different pools. But you can see here's an example of a revenue one for a region or for Jay. He can put in his goals for what his year-to-date goal is versus his actual, and his revenue will roll up to that. He can see his overall year goal. He can put in his fourth quarter goal and be tracking actuals to see where he's at and compared to that overall goal. And again, below are the details and the summaries. And like I said, this is completely flexible. If you have something in mind for a dashboard, something you want to track, we can do it and we can set it up and build it out for you. So just before we wrap up, I know we covered a lot. There's a lot that we went through. What you'll be able to do to get access to everything that we covered today, when you log in, there's going to be operations manual, and we went through just accounts and contacts and campaigns today. If you have questions about any of those, you can go into this and click on accounts, and it will tell you all the things that I just covered: the account structure, how to edit account, how to do different things with accounts, how to do different things with contacts. You can come and get feedback on all those different topics and really learn more if you need to and get those notes that I covered today. And you can get to that just from the operations manual on that tab. So just before we sign off, we have a homework assignment. I talked about it before. For everyone, I would like just for you to be able to update 5 contacts or accounts in Salesforce. And those could be key people and people that you're working with on a regular basis. It might just be updating their email address, updating their overall mailing address. But that's going to be important to us moving forward is making sure all of our data is accurate and up to date. So by next Friday, I would like you to be able to just update 5 contacts or accounts. And the way I know that you'll be able to do that is on a record. And I'll go through this really quick before we sign off. On a record, there's going to be a button on that when you edit that says Dev Update. So if you were to go in and change an email for someone or change an address, just click this box that says Dev Update. And that way I'll know that's the record that you updated, that's the record that's accounting towards your 5, and that will be tied to your own account. So just by next Friday, and I'll include this in the summary, that email that I sent out, try to update 5 contact or accounts that you're working with on a regular basis, just to get that updated contact information there, and check that box when you do. Okay, so I know that was a lot to cover. I'm going to be breaking this video up into different sections for the different objects that we covered today, and sending that out, and you'll have access to that along with the different manuals going over what those different objects can do, how you edit records, how you do those different things. But I'll allow you to sign off if you have to move to another meeting, but I'll stay on for just a couple minutes if any of you have any questions for me before we log off for today.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Tom.
Great job, Eric. Thank you.
Thanks, Jay.
Proxies, automatic proxy configuration.